A sneeze caught you by surprise when the bite of the air sent a shiver down your spine. You wondered how the breeze could chill you to the bone without your quirk being the cause of it, before you wrapped your arms around your frame. Todoroki walked alongside, reaching out a hand to wrap around your arm and draw you near, his warmth radiating through his jacket and through yours. You melted at the touch. You've always known Todoroki reacted to every little movement you've made, keeping his warmth close, especially when dealing with your quirk some of the time. "Is this better?" he asked, his voice soothing while you laid your head on his shoulder.
Much,"
you replied.
"Thanks. I don't know where that came from."
"Maybe someone somewhere is speaking about you," he suggested, with a slightly crooked smile. "You haven't been seeing other people behind my back, have you?" Immediately you turned with a playful yet cross look, your brows furrowed and your lips in a pout.
"How could you think of me like that?"
you jested.
"Haven't I been nothing but faithful and loyal to you?"
A deep chuckle escaped from Todoroki, while his playful eyes turned to you, full of love and life. You smirked, containing the slight giggle that would spill from your lips while the both of you walked along the main walkways of the pier. Tonight was a pleasant surprise of a date. Todoroki, or else as most people knew him as Shouto, had the power of choice and decided to visit the amusement park next to the largest pier in the city. Granted, it was an amusement park made for a much younger audience. You were shocked by his choice at first. Still, you had no problem indulging in some fun activities for the day, riding the mini roller coasters and happily taking part in some carnival games. Your favorite moment was walking through Ice World, not necessarily littered with real ice, but showing off your quirks in front of the children that were present made for a lovely turn of events. Now, with the sun setting over the ocean's horizon, a kaleidoscope of color washed over the pier, crossing into twilight hours while the both of you kept warm from the sea breeze. Using your quirk back at Ice World did a little number on you, and though you knew there wasn't any real ice anywhere during that trip, your body temperature dropped slightly. Todoroki immediately took you by the hand, warming you up on the rest of the walk out of the attraction. But it was the children that your mind drew to. The way they looked up to Todoroki was endearing, watching him stand perplexed and yet stoic for most of your time inside. It was a way he interacted with them, as if he knew how to read them and how to capture their attention in his element, figuratively speaking. It came as no surprise. Todoroki was one of the leading pro heroes on the scene, thanks to his father as his predecessor, but mostly from his own accord. Meanwhile, you were one of his leading sidekicks, which made for some paparazzi fodder here and there. The number of articles that featured the both of you ranged from sneak peeks to absolute gossip, most of the time. "What are you smiling about?" You turned to face Todoroki with his blank expression fixated on you. You had been smiling?
"Oh, just those kids back at the park,"
you answered.
"You were really good with them."
Todoroki continued to stare at you, now confused and yet curious of what you meant.
"Like you were one with them somehow,"
you tried to explain.
You enamored them with your charm and personality, mostly your fame, but I'm coloring it like that.
It actually reminded me about school. He simply commented, withdrawing his arm from yours before his large palm held onto your hand. When I had to retake the hero license exam, even though I was with Bakugo at the time, and we made it work. Being around you and our compatibility really demonstrated the extent of our quirks, simply by entertaining kids.
So, you're saying you had fun?
You questioned, watching a small smile appear on Todoroki's lips. He affirmed with a deep hum, shifting his fingers between yours, interlacing them and spreading his warmth.
Wait.
You spoke, suspiciously, eyeing Todoroki.
What did you do when you retook the exam?
You watched as Todoroki, out of bashfulness, glanced away from your gaze. Though the both of you had been together since UA, there were still some stories left unspoken from Todoroki that he either refused to share or thought nothing of it. Trust played a huge part in his life. You knew this after it took a long while before he made the decision to introduce you to his mother. But despite his discretion, it only helped the relationship, both professional and intimate. You decided to drop the question entirely, turning your eyes towards the distance of the pier. The twilight hours were settling in, a mix of orange and purple dancing in the sky, and signaling that night was approaching. The main walkway itself was quiet, with the occasional passer-by or a small group of people enjoying the end of the day. A few had called out to Todoroki, waving and taking photos of the both of you walking past. Sometimes the fame was a bit of a hindrance, but it brought a smile to your face with every civilian that would greet Todoroki and pose for a selfie. The amount of social media surrounding his whereabouts was unbelievable. While he was busy conversing with a few strangers, most likely fans, you looked around the port, realizing that after walking for quite a while along the pier, there were no ships docked on the harbour. The day was soon ending, and you began to wonder why Todoroki had led you out this way, considering that it was heading close to dinner. Sorry. He apologized, making his way to you after the impromptu public photo shoot.
Don't be.
You replied with a smile.
If it helps your image, it's the least you could do.
Todoroki immediately reached for your hand, gently holding on to it and leading you once again along the pier. How long have you been with my agency? He asked, his eyes twinkling with a curiosity.
A few years now, give or take. And we agreed on no work anniversaries if you're going to suggest it. Holding down this relationship is enough work as is.
Of course. I wasn't going to suggest that at all, he mused. It just crossed my mind that you've been so patient about everything. You watched as Todoroki rubbed the back of his neck, his eyes distant, and the shadow of what you would see a pout on his face. It was strange to see him nervous, even in the slightest. Our relationship had been strongly built on our professional life, more so on mine than yours. The way we act in public, whether it is in the workplace or out here, it dictates everything, and sometimes I feel like I'm only encroaching on your feelings because of it. You felt his hand tighten around yours, followed by a comforting tug. I want to do right by you. The sincerity in his voice only warmed your heart, while you pulled on his hand gently, giving it another squeeze yourself. He wasn't wrong. The relationship was trying sometimes, due to the nature of your professional life, but you didn't deny the way he felt.
And you have,
You replied, nonchalantly and reassuring, as if he said the most nonsensical things.
I don't regret how things turned out, and if this is the nature of dating one of the top pro heroes of the city, then I accept this lifestyle. I've done so since UA. The publicity, the scandals, the risks and the dangers, they're all there.
You released his hand, hopping a few steps ahead, now facing him as you continued to keep momentum, walking backwards.
And as your top sidekick, I mean one of your leading sidekicks, my duty to you is to not only learn more from you, but to keep supporting your career.
A coy smile curled on your lips as you eyed the man before you, with a playful air in your step.
Even if you've been having more intimate meetings to satiate that hunger of yours.
But I'm not hungry all the time. Your face faltered and your shoulders dropped, while you still faced him, walking along the wooden boardwalk.
Wow, seriously? How is it that you can tease me and I can't tease you?
A choked giggle forced its way up from Todoroki, leading the path to joyous laughter before you joined in with him. He rarely laughed in public, being aware that now you both were truly the only ones on the pier. You continued to skip ahead, keeping your eye on the man with his infectious laughter that you've come to know so well. The night had fallen, making way for the incandescent lights to illuminate the walkways along the pier. The city began to glow with its bright lights, and in the distance, you could spot the large Ferris wheel alight with its ever-changing colors.
Well, I wouldn't have it any other way,
You said.
I'm glad to be here with you.
So am I. He agreed, fixing his hair from the breeze that picked up from the sea.
Which begs to question though, where are you taking us?
Todoroki looked at you blankly, mulling over your words in his head, before he plainly pointed behind you. To dinner. You turned around with a hop, before you almost tripped over your feet at the sight that appeared before you. Catching yourself, you spotted a large luxury yacht docked at the pier, its lights flooded inside, with which you spotted shadows of movement. By the entrance of it, from which the disembarkment podium laid, stood a maitre d', greeting the both of you with a genial smile and a nod of his head. Todoroki was, to put it bluntly, extremely well off, but you never saw him as being this flashy. You wondered if his siblings put him up to this idea of a date night, or worse, one of his parents. You stopped to admire the sight before Todoroki approached your side, offering his arm. A warm and yet teasing smile appeared on his features, causing you to pout. He chuckled again, enjoying this tiny moment. Shall we, love?